Have you ever wondered why we rarely hear about Archangel Michael in depth from the pulpits? Why is this powerful spiritual warrior, who appears in crucial passages of the Bible, so often kept hidden behind the curtains of traditional Christian history? In this video, we're going to go beyond the surface and reveal the hidden truth about Archangel Michael that you were never told in church. Get ready to uncover details that go far beyond the usual narratives, secrets that may have been set aside out of fear, ignorance, or perhaps convenience. Throughout this journey, we will investigate what the Bible itself tells us about Michael and why he plays such a central and mysterious role. We'll also explore ancient apocryphal texts which most people have never read, as well as modern testimonies that reignite the debate about who he truly is. If you've ever felt that there is so much more behind the figure of this warrior archangel, but never knew where to start, this video will open your eyes. So stay with us until the end, because what you're about to hear might completely change your spiritual perspective. The figure of Archangel Michael appears only a few times in Scripture, but each mention is filled with authority and purpose. Unlike what many think, he is not just another angel among many. He is presented as a powerful warrior and protector, chosen directly by God to lead decisive spiritual battles. In Daniel 10:13, Michael is described as one of the chief princes, someone who comes to the aid of the angel delivering the answer to the prophet's prayer. Here, we see that Michael occupies a very high level in the heavenly hierarchy. He is not merely a messenger. He is a celestial commander who faces hidden forces to ensure that the divine will is accomplished. Later, in Daniel 12:1, he appears again as the great prince who stands up for God as people at the time of the end. In the New Testament, especially in Jude 1-9, we find an intriguing scene, Archangel Michael contending with the devil over the body of Moses. It's a brief, almost enigmatic passage, but rich in symbolism. Michael does not use his own curses against Satan. He simply says, "The Lord rebuke you." This detail reinforces that he always acts under divine authority, never on his own, showing his absolute obedience to God. And without a doubt, the most striking description of Archangel Michael is in Revelation 12:7-9, where he leads the good angels against the dragon and his rebel angels, casting them out of heaven. In this apocalyptic vision, Michael appears as the supreme defender of divine order, the warrior who faces Satan himself and defeats him. Behind these words lies a powerful warning. Michael is an active spiritual force still present in the ongoing battle between good and evil. Through these passages, we can see a very clear image. Michael is not just one name among many. He is the commander of the heavenly hosts, always defending divine justice and God's people. And for this very reason, understanding his role goes far beyond mere curiosity. It is recognizing that there is a powerful protector always acting on behalf of those who call upon him. This realization leads us to an important question that we will explore next. If Archangel Michael is so significant and powerful, why then does the Church rarely speak about him in detail? If Archangel Michael holds such a powerful role in the Bible, it raises a question that intrigues many scholars and believers. Why is he rarely mentioned in sermons and Sunday teachings? Why do most sermons focus almost exclusively on Jesus, the apostles, and the prophets, while the archangels, especially Michael, remain almost invisible? One of the main reasons pointed out by scholars is that the traditional church structure has always sought to center the figure of Jesus as the mediator between God and man. As a result, other spiritual figures were set aside so that the focus would remain solely on Christ. This doesn't mean Michael is irrelevant. On the contrary, he is extremely important. But the Church's excessive emphasis on Jesus has kept many details about Archangel Michael from being explored as deeply as they deserve. Additionally, some believe that this silence stems from fear of controversy. Throughout history, theories that directly associate Michael with Jesus or that expand the understanding of his power and ministry have always sparked heated theological debates. Some of these interpretations, although interesting, have been rejected by more conservative church segments that prefer the safety of established doctrine. This discomfort in addressing Archangel Michael fully also reflects how many perceive angels as secondary messengers who act behind the scenes, invisible and almost without their own identity. In doing so, we lose the spiritual richness that could transform the faith of many believers. And this is where the central point that moves us forward comes in. By minimizing the figure of Michael, we end up ignoring an essential part of God's plan for the spiritual world. And that prepares us for the next level of our journey, understanding what the texts that were left out of the Bible, the Apocrypha, have to say about Archangel Michael. In them, we will discover a Michael even more powerful, profound, and full of details that will forever change our perspective. If the Bible already gives us impressive glimpses of Archangel Michael, the so-called apocryphal texts go much further, offering details that remain hidden from most believers. These works, written between the Old and New Testaments and others that appeared in the early centuries of Christianity, were not included in the official canon of the Church, but circulated among many ancient religious groups. In them, Michael emerges as an even greater and more mysterious figure. One of the most notable examples is the Book of Enoch, an apocryphal text that survived mainly among the Ethiopians and was even cited by apostles in the New Testament. In this book, Michael appears as the Prince of Mercy and the angel who commands the other angels to bring the souls of the righteous before God. He is not just a warrior against the forces of darkness. He also plays a direct role as a spiritual guide and auxiliary judge in divine mysteries. Moreover, the Book of Enoch and other apocryphal writings say that Michael was tasked with teaching the secrets of righteousness and wisdom to the patriarchs. In other words, he functioned as a channel between God and the humans who sought deep understanding. This gives Michael an almost priestly role, beyond the warrior many already know. Another point that sparks debate among scholars are the texts suggesting that Archangel Michael and Jesus Christ are closely connected. Some apocryphal traditions point to Michael as a pre-incarnate manifestation of Christ himself, acting under his heavenly name before his coming in the flesh, which explains the immense power he wields and the respect he commands even among the angels. This theory has always been controversial and therefore was set aside by many churches that feared the doctrinal confusion it could create. All these apocryphal revelations, which remain outside most Bibles we read today, radically expand our understanding of who Michael really is. He appears as a warrior archangel, yes, but also as a teacher of divine wisdom and a counselor working behind the scenes of the spiritual world. And most impressive of all, these apocryphal descriptions echo in many modern accounts. Many believers who claim to have had visions or dreams of Archangel Michael describe him in the same way as these ancient texts, as a powerful presence, but also full of compassion and personal guidance. It is precisely this connection between the distant past and the present that we will now investigate. In the next chapter, we'll dive into real and current testimonies that show how Michael continues to act today, often in ways the Church never told us about. Throughout history, Archangel Michael has always been portrayed as the heavenly warrior who confronts evil and defends the righteous. But is he still present today? Many believers think so, and report supernatural experiences that, interestingly, bear a striking resemblance to the descriptions we just saw in ancient texts. In Christian forums, videos, and testimonies all over the internet, there are countless stories of people who claim to have seen Archangel Michael. Some describe him appearing in dreams, others during intense prayer, and even in real-life moments of danger when they felt an invisible force protecting them. These experiences usually share one common thread, an overwhelming sense of power and peace, as if an invisible and mighty presence were saying, "You are not alone." In many of these accounts, Michael appears as a radiant warrior dressed in armor and carrying a luminous sword, the image that directly echoes Revelation and the classic representations of the archangel. Other testimonies describe him appearing as an intense light, difficult to look at directly, but radiating a deep sense of safety and spiritual strength. Beyond these visions, there are also stories where Archangel Michael acts more subtly, as an unexpected inspiration to change the course of one's life, a breath that gives courage to do the right thing when all seemed lost. This invisible figure, felt though not always seen, seems to continue acting as a protector guiding God's people against visible and invisible dangers. This continuity between what was written millennia ago and what people report today gives this theme an almost prophetic touch. It shows us that Michael was never just a distant figure from the Bible, but rather a living spiritual agent, still interceding for mankind. And now that we understand that he still acts among us, an inevitable question arises. If Michael continues to act and intercede for us, what kind of knowledge might the Church have chosen, intentionally or not, to keep hidden about the true scope of his ministry? That's exactly what we'll explore in the next chapter. After all we've discovered so far, the biblical accounts, the apocryphal texts, and modern visions, a question many avoid asking emerges. Why has so much knowledge about Archangel Michael been kept in the background? Why does the Church rarely explore this subject in depth when there is so much to be said and learned? Over the centuries, the Church's structure prioritized a simple, clear message focused on Jesus and the apostles. This choice was made to prevent believers from being distracted by other figures, especially angelic ones, who have always fascinated people. Talking too much about Archangel Michael could open the door to speculation and even divert focus from the central message of salvation. So the theme was simplified, often reduced to a single image: Michael as the warrior who defeats the dragon, period. However, what most people don't know, and what few religious leaders address openly, is that understanding Michael in all his complexity can change how we see the spiritual battle itself. Knowing that he is more than a distant warrior, that he also acts as a spiritual guide, powerful intercessor, and bearer of divine justice, gives us a completely new perspective on our daily lives. Moreover, by understanding what the apocryphal texts and modern testimonies show us, we realize that Archangel Michael is not a figure frozen in the past. He continues to act, responding to sincere cries, strengthening those in the midst of invisible battles, and reminding us that we are not alone. This knowledge awakens a more active, less passive faith, and this can truly transform our relationship with the divine. That's why this theme needs to be rediscovered. By reclaiming what was left behind, we begin to live a more complete spirituality, aware that there is much more happening in the spiritual world than we can see. And this realization gives us strength to fight against what tries to pull us away from the light.